My name is Spring Gaines. I am 24 years old. I graduated in marine biology in 2008 from Nicholls State University, and I am currently a wetlands educator with America's Wetlands Conservation Corps. So, being a science buff, you wouldn't think I would know Shakespeare, but I love me some Bard. So, I do have experience with Shakespeare. I have my own box set of Shakespearean plays, and I've read almost all of them. I'm still working through the histories and some of the sonnets. I've also seen a few productions. I've written papers on them. I saw A Winter's Tale at the Globe because I took a study abroad course in London on history of British theatre, and I was in a production of Twelfth Night for community theatre. When I was introduced to Shakespeare, I was about 12 years old. I was in my dad's library, and he had this really old blue book, and it wound up being an omnibus of Shakespearean plays, so I kept that book in my room for a really long time until I got my own box set. As for school level, we started with Romeo and Juliet when I was in 8th grade, so I was about 14 then. But my favorite play is Much Ado About Nothing. I'm more of a fan of the comedies. As for essentiality for performers and students, performers definitely. I mean, Shakespeare is one of the greatest playwrights of all time. He has such an extensive library of work and a vast number of character archetypes. So I think any actor would want Shakespeare in his repertoire of different types of plays he's been in. For a student, I think when you sit down and you really think about what Shakespeare is saying in his plays, you realize how based in reality it is. He really had an understanding of how people work. He knew how they thought, how they moved, how they reacted to certain situations. And his plays are a reflection of the time period of society. He really knew the human psyche. So, as a student, knowing and learning that, I think, is really big. He has such a cultural capital. I mean, we say something is cliche because it has a grain of truth in it, but another thing is because Shakespeare probably said it first. A lot of the phrases we know were first seen in Shakespearean plays. Also, his work is still very influential, especially in today's society, considering some of the films we have. I mean, 10 Things I Hate About You was based on Taming of the Shrew. She's the Man's based on Twelfth Night. I mean, even The Lion King is based on Hamlet. So, yeah, that's a lot of Bard right there. He's basically ingrained even in today's society. He hasn't exactly changed the way I view the world. It kind of helped me understand it better. I got my minor in history, and one of the reasons why is because I believe we have to understand the past to really see how the present is working. And Shakespeare plays in his studies, and like I said before, the reality of his plays is definitely historical studies. So it's taking me a long time to get through the histories because I'm really looking into them. Yeah. Should race be discussed in an educational setting? It depends on the point of view you take it from. If you're looking from a historical perspective and seeing how societal views on race has changed throughout the ages, I think you could have a debate on that. Also, if you're looking at stereotypes and propaganda and how that's used in advertisement or things like that, I think you take an educational debate on that. But I do not believe in putting your personal bias or prejudice inside. Personal views stay outside the door. I have heard of non-traditional casting and colorblind casting. I believe that if a female can play a male part just as well, why not? For a long time, when I looked at A Midsummer Night's Dream, I fully believed Puck could be played by a female. I wanted to be Puck. Colorblind casting? Same thing. I don't really think Shakespearean plays are racial specific. I mean, I think an Asian, African, Hispanics, whatever. I mean, it's a view on society, and society is broad. And I don't think what race you are depends your thought pattern. Human is human. Shakespearean problem plays. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. If you mean for the fact that there are certain plays that cannot be really defined in one of the three categories, comedies, tragedies, histories, then yeah, I have heard that. It's because the material is like a mixture of the two, so you can't really define it into one. Kind of like how Merchant of Venus, or Merchant of Venice or A Winter's Tale are both dark comedies, so it's kind of a comedy tragedy. So, if that's what you mean, then yeah, I heard of it, but if it's something else, then no. And yeah, why not? Why can't they be performed? I mean, sure, like Othello is prolific. It's been performed so many times. It's been on Broadway, and actors have won Tonys based on those parts. And yeah, it discusses racism, but isn't that the point of putting on a show? To prove you have a point, and to show what your point is? I mean, if anything, don't perform Macbeth. Macbeth's haunted. Yeah, but it should be performed anyway. It's a good play. And no, definitely not. Do not rewrite these plays for today's audiences. That's asking to go back in time and change history. I mean, why should we dumb down our educational system? Seriously? We grew up, like even now and today, we grew up learning these plays. We understand them in school, we study them. So why should we rewrite them? I mean, if we rewrite those, then what's next? Should we rewrite Austen? Should we rewrite Oscar Wilde? Should we have a remake of the Canterbury Tales? No, I don't believe in writing. Pinnacle of actor's career. I believe, like I said before, that Shakespeare is great in any actor's repertoire, and I believe any classically trained actor would jump at a chance to perform Shakespeare. However, pinnacle to me implies a limit, and I do not believe in setting limits. Even though Shakespeare is great, I don't believe he's a capstone. I believe he should keep going. But as for Othello being a pinnacle of a black actor's career, not surprising. Considering, like I said before, this play has won Tonys for different people, and it's been played by both black and white actors. I mean, even James Earl Jones was Othello. And then there's also the debate whether the character Othello itself was supposed to be black. And like I said before, I don't think Shakespearean plays are racial specific, but if a black actor wants to do it, more power to him. So, that's what I think, and I hope it helps.